Hey guys, with Zack Snyder's Justice League just around the corner, I thought it would be the perfect time to sit down and talk about the 3 movies that came before. So, for the next couple of weeks, we are going to be discussing Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and the original theatrical cut of Justice League. So anyway, let's get started and talk about the film that started the DCEU as a whole, Man of Steel. Man of Steel was released in 2013 and was directed by Zack Snyder and stars Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, and Michael Shannon, and follows the story of Superman as he is taken away from his planet of Krypton, which is being destroyed, and has to learn to live as a human on Earth. But when General Zod resurfaces, he threatens the entirety of Earth, and so Superman must save it. Guys, when Man of Steel originally came out in 2013, I absolutely adored this film. I loved it so much. I watched it like 3 times in the theater. I just really loved seeing a Superman movie that was taken with this type of seriousness that I had never seen before with Superman. And I was also an angsty teenager that, liked things a little bit darker, and I will say that since then I really haven't watched the film. I mean, this is the first time I've probably watched this film since 2014, and over the years, my thoughts on it have kind of soured. I've seen problems with it more and more as I've grown a little bit older and look at film a little bit differently, but I still remember there was things in this that I did enjoy, and I thought when I would watch it, I would still enjoy. And for the most part with this movie, I think there is more good in this film than there is bad. But this movie does have its share of problems, and I will be discussing that here. But before we get started, I want to talk, first of all, about some of the complaints that a lot of people have that I just do not think are valid. Now, I'm somebody, when it comes to Man of Steel, that's kind of in the middle. I don't love this film, and I don't hate it. And so, I think both people that love it and hate it, that's their opinions, of course, but I think there's, some problems here with both sides. Now, I want to mainly talk about the stuff that people hate with this film. Specifically, people complain that how dark this movie is, or how Superman doesn't act like Superman. And here's my take on that. Superman doesn't belong to you. Superman belongs to whoever is the person that is writing it at the time. If somebody wants to make a dark Superman movie, they have every right. If he doesn't feel like Superman, they have every right to change this character and make it what they want it to be. If Zack Snyder and David S. Goyer wanted this depressing like Superman, then they have every right to do so. However, what depends upon this is if it is written well. And is this written well? Not necessarily, but there are some great things in this movie. I'll also get out of the way the whole thing that Superman doesn't kill. He shouldn't kill. Why did he kill? I'm perfectly fine with Superman killing Zod at the end of this movie. I think thematically it works, and it also asks some really interesting questions, and I love the scene of Henry Cavill right after killing him just bawling out screaming. That is really powerful, but you know what would have made it even better? If they had set it up. Because I'm somebody that really likes setups and payoffs in my movies, and this could have been a great idea of setting up that Superman says somewhere earlier in the film that I will not kill somebody. I'm not a killer. And then, in the very end of the movie, to save the world, he has to break his rule. And through breaking that, he's like, I'm never going to do this again. That could have worked so much better. But for the most part, I still like the idea. I think the execution is just the problem. And that's my main complaint with this movie. I think there's some great ideas here. It's the execution of them that's the problem. I like this idea of an introspective look into the character of Superman. I like the idea of him being this loner, just not really knowing his place in the world. However, when that happens, when you write a story like that, the character has to be interesting, and there's never a point in this movie where I feel like we understand or know exactly who this character is, besides him being sad, feeling like an outcast, and other things like that. That's my biggest complaint, is that the acting, for the most part in this movie, is pretty bland. Henry Cavill is a good actor, and he can be really charismatic, but in this movie, he's just written so blandly and directed so blandly that I can't really connect with this character. Other characters are also kind of bland, but I think sometimes they are able to shine through, such as Amy Adams as Lois Lane, and specifically Michael Shannon as Zod, who is the best actor in this film. He is extremely over the top, almost Shakespearean in how evil he is, and he just hams it up so well, but it still fits within the universe. This is a great villain. I understand his motivations. I love the scene where he talks about how the new Krypton has to have a foundation that's built on something. The scene of Superman falling into the graveyard of skulls, basically. I love that scene. It's visually beautiful, and there are some beautiful looking scenes in this film and beautiful looking shots throughout it. It's just a shame that the cinematography for the most part is pretty bland. There's a lot of browns and grays, and just the movie looks really grim, and I wish there was a brighter tone to it, but it does work with the type of tone that the movie is going for the most part. It's just, I hate looking at grim looking movies. It just kind of bums me out when I watch it. But also the worst part of the cinematography is Zack Snyder, for some reason, felt that it was necessary to film this big budget movie with a single camera, and in doing so, a lot of this film is filmed in shaky cam, and sometimes, of course, that can work, but other times, when people are sitting down and talking and the camera is just going everywhere, it's really nauseating. I had a headache after watching this movie due to that stuff alone. However, I do think that the cinematography is good during some of the action scenes, such as the Smallville battle in particular. I love that scene in the streets where Superman is fighting the other Kryptonians. That stuff is really cool. And the movie also has really cool little nuggets of interesting stuff that don't necessarily make the movie better, but they're just neat little details that I like. Like, I like when Superman uses his heat vision that his eyes, like, the veins in his eyes start to bulge. That's really cool. I like earlier on when Clark is learning his powers and everything, he's having trouble and he's having sensory overload. That's a really neat idea here, and I think it's done really well, honestly. I like that he has a problem adjusting to Krypton's atmosphere and vice versa with the other Kryptonians. That's really cool. That's some neat stuff. And also with that, there's a ton of little nitpicks with this film that kind of annoy me. They don't hurt the film necessarily, but they are just kind of little nitpicks, as I said, and I won't go into those because I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. Also, I want to discuss the scene that people seem to really have a problem with. I wanted to wait until later to talk about this, and that is the scene where Pa Kent tells Clark that maybe he should have let the boy in the bus die. There's a lot of people that hate this scene. Like, what a terrible moral. But I think it works. I think it works because it finally makes these kind of stoic, bland characters kind of human for a moment. I really like how Pa Kent really doesn't have an answer. He doesn't say that he should have let the kid die. He says maybe. Like, he's unsure. He doesn't know. He doesn't have all the answers here because he's just wanting to protect his son. And I think that's really neat. And I think it works for that scene. And I don't understand the complaints. But one of the complaints I do understand, and this was something that just frustrated me throughout the film, and that is the scene where Pa Kent dies by the tornado. Because Superman allows his dad to die because he apparently trusted his dad because he believed that, you know, if people found out who he was, they would reject him. And I just think, you still could have clearly saved your father and save us with this really stupid kind of death. I don't want to compare this to the original Superman the movie, but I think what was so powerful about his death scene in that film was that it was just from a simple heart attack. And Superman couldn't do anything about it. Here, Superman could. The only thing that's stopping him is that his daddy said no. And to me, that's just not good enough. Yeah, okay, I guess Superman is showing that he's a good sport, that, you know, he's going to trust in his dad, but still, it just makes me roll my eyes when I watch it. Also, this movie, like Batman Begins, has flashbacks to Superman when he was a young boy and everything, growing up, and these scenes, for the most part, are really good scenes, but they feel so isolated, and they just feel random at times. There are some moments where they kind of connect it, like Superman will see a school bus driving through, and then that reminds him of the school bus incident. But there's other moments where it just kind of happens randomly, for the most part, and doesn't really add much of anything. And also, one of the scenes is out of order, and it just feels really odd, because we see, you know, Clark and Pa Kent, that scene where Pa Kent dies, and then later on we see a scene that happened earlier in the past, and it just felt really off. Also, this movie does a poor job of setting up too many things at once, specifically in the Krypton scene at the beginning of this film. We've got an insurrection going on with Zod. We've got the planet is about to explode. We've got this codex that we need to put into Superman and all this different stuff and everything, and it's just a little too much. However, I love that Krypton scene at the beginning. I think the world is visually interesting. I think there's some really cool action beats here. There's some great little conflict between Zod and Jor-El, played by Rissell Crowe, which is really cool. But, like, yeah, that stuff is a lot of fun. And the film is filled with a lot of fun stuff, a lot of fun action beats. There are some comedic moments that I think really do land, and there's interesting ideas all the way throughout the film. However, it's just hankered down by a couple of bland performances, some bland writing, and some weird decisions that, to me, just don't make a whole lot of sense. And also, one final complaint that I have, and then I'll end off on this. This movie doesn't follow the typical 3-act structure. I mean, it does, but it feels more like we have an elongated first act where we have a lot of exposition, learning about our characters, and then the rest of the movie is the third act, and it's an hour and 20-minute third act. that was really frustrating, and it made it really, really tiring. Now, I mean, if you really looked into it, there's obviously 3 acts here, but it feels so much like an elongated first act and an even more elongated third act. There's really no second act here. But anyway, guys, really, I still like this film for the most part. I know I talked a lot about the stuff that I complain about that I don't exactly like, but there are plenty of things that I do like. I like Michael Shannon as Zod. I like a lot of the ideas. Some of the scenes that are comedic are a lot of fun. There's great ideas here. There's great action. There's some really good and emotional music when it comes to Hans Zimmer's score. But for the most part, there's just too much bland acting, bland writing, and just too many missed opportunities and things that were really good and solid but could have been even better if they added to it, such as the scene of Superman having to kill Zod. If they had elaborated on that earlier in the film, I think it would have been a lot better. But anyway, guys, with all that said, I'm going to give Man of Steel a 6 out of 10. As I said, there's plenty of stuff wrong with this film, but there's more stuff that I like than I dislike. So yeah, I'm glad I rewatched this. I'm glad I had a brand new take on it and that I didn't absolutely hate it like I know some people do, but I also didn't exactly love it either. So, you know. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review.